Alright, here comes the part I don't like. You probably won't either, but it's a necessary part of it. We've got to repack the bearings before they go in the hub. And unless you have a bearing packer, and I don't, we're going to take our cleaned up knife, scoop some grease, and you're going to put it right here in the palm of your hand. Are you up with that? Alright. We're going to take our bearing with the big side toward our hand, and we're going to start trying to pack grease up in it. Just a little bit at a time. Just barely scooping a little bit. And see how it's coming out around the needle bearings there? That's what we want. We want it squishing out. We're forcing it up. We're forcing it up in between them here by doing that. And that's getting the grease where it needs to be, which is on the bearings. So once we do that, we turn it a little bit and we just keep on with it. And it's a mell of a hess. But anyway, you get it squishing up between the bearings. And you just repeat that all the way around. It don't take but 5 minutes to do a bearing maybe. But it's what needs to happen for the life of the bearing. You can have an assistant doing this while you're doing something else. Just make sure you keep them clean. And we're forcing it up in there. Now all that going inside there isn't necessarily doing the trick, but it's coming up between the bearings. We just need to keep on keeping on. Anyway, we get to that point. That's good enough for the moment. This thing's going to spend its whole life in this grease. So we want to make sure that it's adequate. Now when we drop that in, we're going to throw a little more in with it. But that's the bearing packing magic right there. You have to do that. Your bearings won't last long if you don't. Same thing on your smaller bearing. And you can do this barehanded. I've done it barehanded dozens of times. It's just handier to have a glove. But we just keep on with it. That's all there is to it, folks. Keep up the good work and we'll carry on here in a moment. There is one last piece after you drop your bearings in. This is the grease seal. And it goes in the bore just like the bearing race did. Drop your bearing in first. Then you seat the grease seal with a piece of wood, gently tapping it into there until it's flush with the back of that hub. We're not going to do that yet. I want to put everything together dry and do an install, because it's a lot easier to show it without the grease all over everything. So let's move on to that. We'll get with it in a second.